I slipped and touched the alien queen's bottom, she whispered. Come to my room now. The human ship arrived at the edge of the Cathari Empire with a slow, careful glide. Evan Hale stood inside the docking chamber, hands clasped behind his back, trying to control his breathing. He had trained for years to become a diplomatic escort, but nothing truly prepared him for standing inside an alien royal station that had gravity stronger than Earth's by almost 40%. Evan was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was simply a human assigned to walk behind ambassadors, carry documents, and make sure nothing went wrong. Yet as the airlock doors opened and the heavy gravity pressed down on his body, he already felt that something was about to go very wrong. The Cathari were tall, elegant beings with smooth silver-blue skin and glowing eyes like polished crystal. Their movements were slow and graceful, perfectly adjusted to the gravity of their world. Humans, by comparison, looked clumsy here. Evan forced himself to take small steps, remembering the training videos. Bend the knees, keep balance low, do not rush. The docking chamber opened into a massive hall filled with alien nobles, guards, and officials. At the far end stood the alien queen herself, seated on a floating platform of dark metal and light. Her presence silenced the room without effort. She wore ceremonial armor shaped like flowing stone, etched with symbols older than humanity's written history. This was Evan's first time seeing her in person. The procession began. Evan followed behind the lead ambassador, eyes forward, heart pounding. The floor beneath his boots felt strange, almost alive. The Cathari used adaptive gravity tiles that shifted slightly to reduce stress on their joints. For them, it was natural. For Evan, it felt like walking on a moving river. He focused on breathing. Step, balance, step. Everything was fine until it was. A sudden gravity fluctuation rippled across the hall. It was minor, barely noticeable to the Cathari. Evan felt it like a punch to the chest. His foot slipped. His center of gravity shifted forward. He tried to recover. He failed. Evan stumbled, arms flailing, body tipping toward the royal platform. Time slowed. He saw guards tense. He saw the queen turn her head slightly. He knew with absolute clarity that he was about to ruin his career, his species' reputation, and possibly his life. He collided with the edge of the platform. His hand struck the queen's ceremonial armor in a place no human hand should ever be. The impact was brief, solid, unmistakable. The hall went silent. Not a breath moved. Not a sound echoed. Even the adaptive floor seemed to freeze. Evan pulled his hand back as if burned. He fell hard onto the floor, pain shooting through his knees and spine. He scrambled backward, face pale, heart hammering so loud he could hear it. I'm sorry, he said quickly, his voice shaking. I slipped. I didn't mean. Evan raised his hand slowly, every muscle screaming under the heavy gravity. He did not look at the queen. He could not. In Cathari culture, physical contact with the monarch was forbidden. Certain regions of the royal armor represented authority, lineage, and sacred command. To touch them without permission was considered a direct challenge, or worse, a violation of cosmic order. Evan waited for the sentence. Instead, something unexpected happened. The queen stood. The motion was smooth, controlled, and terrifying. Guards stepped back at once. She descended from the platform, her presence filling the space around Evan like a storm held in perfect calm. She looked down at him. Her glowing eyes studied his face, his posture, the way his hands trembled not from fear alone but from the effort of resisting gravity. Then she leaned closer. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. Come to my room now. Some looked confused, others looked afraid. Evan's mind went blank. He knew enough about Cathari customs to understand the danger. Being summoned privately by the queen after a taboo act meant only two possibilities: judgment or testing. Neither option ended well for most. Yes, Your Majesty, Evan said, because there was nothing else he could say. He was escorted through corridors carved from dark crystal and living metal. The guards said nothing. Their footsteps were perfectly timed. Evan struggled to keep up, every step heavier than the last. His legs burned. His lungs worked overtime. They reached a massive door covered in ancient symbols. It opened without sound. Inside, the queen's private chamber was vast and quiet. Soft light filled the space, reflecting off walls that seemed to breathe slowly like stone alive with memory. The air felt denser here, more controlled. The guards stopped at the entrance. Evan stepped inside alone. The door closed behind him. He stood still, unsure whether to kneel, speak, or remain silent. His training offered no guidance for this moment. The queen turned to face him fully. "You believe you have committed a grave offense," she said. "Yes," Evan replied honestly. "I accept responsibility. It was an accident, but I understand that may not matter. I was trying not to fall on you, Your Majesty. Yet you reacted faster than predicted." "My empire faces a future imbalance," the queen said calmly. "Political, structural, existential. My advisors see only numbers and force. I see instinct. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt. Not as a prisoner, not as a guest." And humanity was now being watched. The gravity increased slowly, not enough to crush, but enough to make every breath heavier. Evan felt it immediately. His knees bent a little as his body adjusted. He did not fall, but he had to focus. He spread his feet just like the training taught him and steadied himself. The queen watched closely. She did not speak at first. She simply observed how the human reacted. Evan could feel her eyes on him, measuring every small movement. Sweat formed on his forehead, but he kept his breathing steady. He refused to show panic. "You are struggling," the queen said calmly. "Yes, Your Majesty," Evan replied honestly. "But I can stand. No one would judge you if you knelt. You are fragile, yet you resist breaking. Yet everywhere you go, you survive." He gritted his teeth and adjusted. "This is a test," he asked, breathing harder now. "This is observation," the queen replied. "The test is how you respond." He did it because humans learned long ago that quitting too early often killed you later. Minutes passed, or seconds. Evan could not tell. Finally, the pressure eased completely. Evan collapsed to one knee, gasping. He did not fall flat. He kept his head up. The queen approached him. "You could have demanded mercy," she said. "You could have blamed my technology or your weakness. You are here because my empire is in danger, and my people do not see it." "Perfection breeds blindness," the queen said. "We have forgotten how to adapt." He remained under observation, not restrained but not free. Outside the chamber, the court was in chaos. The queen's advisors argued fiercely. Some demanded Evan's execution to restore tradition. Others feared the ancient prophecies tied to the gravity event. Military leaders watched silently, calculating risk. Among them stood high strategist Orcs, a sharp-minded Cathari with darkened markings along his face. He did not believe in fate. He believed in control. "A human accident cannot decide imperial policy," Vorex said coldly. "This is weakness." Quiet ones, dangerous ones. Back in the chamber, Evan was called forward again. The queen stood before a circular platform that rose from the floor. Strange symbols rotated above it. "This is a cognitive trial," she said. "It will not harm you physically." Numbers Evan barely understood. Then came the choices. A simulated crisis unfolded. 2 alien colonies were failing. Resources could only save one. The logical solution was clear. "Choose," the system demanded. Evan stared at the data. Then he frowned. "This information is incomplete. No cultural data, no long-term effects." The queen's eyes glowed brighter. "Continue," she ordered the system. New data appeared: civilian evacuations, hidden alliances, resource regeneration. Evan adjusted his decision, choosing a slower, riskier solution that saved both colonies but required cooperation. The system calculated. Outcome: unstable but survivable. The queen turned to Evan. "You chose uncertainty," she said. "Yes," Evan replied, "because life is uncertain. We live there all the time." "He should have broken by now," one whispered. "He adapts," another said. High strategist Vorex watched in silence, his expression dark. Later, alone again, Evan sat on the floor, exhausted. His body ached. His mind felt stretched thin. The Queen approached quietly. "You are failing some tests," she said. Evan smiled weakly. "That sounds like me." "We're used to it," Evan replied. "We just don't stop." Ships repositioned. Loyalists whispered. Opponents sharpened strategies. The human accident was no longer an accident, it was a spark. And the galaxy was beginning to feel the heat. The alarms did not sound at first. That was the most dangerous part. Evan noticed it during one of the later trials. The room felt different. Not heavier, not louder, just tense. The Queen stood near the observation wall, her posture still calm, but her eyes kept shifting, focusing on things Evan could not see. "You feel it too," she said. Evan wiped sweat from his face. "Something's wrong." Far away, a deep vibration rolled through the structure, almost like a distant thunder. Evan straightened slowly. That wasn't a system test. The image showed parts of the royal station, then expanded outward to reveal several warships drifting closer than protocol allowed. Evan's stomach tightened. A coup. "For the stability of the Empire, you are requested to step down temporarily. The human will be taken into custody. But don't tear your empire apart over it." The station shook as security fields activated. Evan had to brace himself against a pillar to stay upright. "They are moving early," the Queen said, "earlier than expected. As justification of mistakes turning into survival lessons. I won't be the excuse," he said, "and I won't be the reason you stand alone. But you can warn me faster than my own systems." Security overrides hidden inside routine commands. Evan's mind raced, filtering patterns, spotting what didn't belong. "There," he said suddenly. "That sequence repeats, but it shouldn't. It's a loop. They're hiding signal traffic inside maintenance pings. If you wait for confirmation, it'll be too late." "Then don't use theirs," Evan replied. "Use ours." She spoke without ornament. "My people," she said, "there are those among you who believe control is strength. They are wrong." The feed distorted but did not cut. Evan leaned toward the console, rerouting power manually, hands shaking with effort. "You taught me this," he muttered. "Improvise." This time parts of the ceiling cracked. Evan stumbled, catching himself on the console. Pain flared through his side. He ignored it. "Your Majesty," he said urgently, "they're about to overload the inner shield. If they do, the chamber won't hold." Open trial in real time. Guards loyal to the Queen clashed with the coup forces in the corridors. Evan could hear it now. Footsteps, energy discharges, shouts in a language he barely understood. The gravity spiked suddenly. Evan cried out, dropping to one knee. His vision blurred. The Queen reached for him, steadying him with surprising strength. "Stay with me," she said. "I'm not going anywhere," Evan gasped. The console flashed a warning. Core failure imminent. Evan stared at it. If the core blows, the station goes with it. Long enough for people to see what's really happening. Pain exploded through his body. He did not lose consciousness. He forced his eyes open. The alarms began to fade. The display stabilized. The coup forces froze as systems locked them out completely. Loyal ships moved in, their actions now fully visible to the Empire. It was over. Evan lay on the floor, chest heaving, every muscle trembling. The Queen knelt beside him. "You survived," she said softly. Evan managed a weak smile. "We're good at that." Emergency lights dimmed back to normal. Damaged systems shut down safely. Outside the great windows, loyal ships held position, their presence calm and steady. Evan lay on a medical platform, breathing slowly. His body ached in places he did not know could ache. The gravity was lowered now, closer to human comfort, but exhaustion weighed heavier than any force field. He opened his eyes. The alien Queen stood nearby, speaking softly with her healers. When she noticed Evan was awake, she raised one hand. The others stepped back, giving them space. "You should be unconscious longer," she said. Evan smiled faintly. Humans are bad at following instructions. The healer gently pressed him back down. Evan sighed and gave up. So, he said, did it work? High strategist Vorex has been arrested, she continued, along with those who followed him. I didn't fight anyone. He had stood beside a monarch when her own people turned against her. Humans noticed too. On Earth, in orbital stations on distant colonies, analysts replayed the footage, not with pride at first but disbelief. Evan Hale was not a general, he was not enhanced, he was not famous, he was normal. And that was what unsettled everyone. Days passed. Evan recovered slowly. Cathari medical science was advanced, but human biology remained stubborn. Still, he healed. When he could finally walk without assistance, the Queen requested his presence in the Grand Hall. This time, Evan did not walk behind anyone. He walked beside her. The hall was full. Nobles, officials, citizens, and representatives from other species watched in complete silence. No weapons were drawn. No guard stood ready in threat. The Queen stepped forward. Today, she said, her voice carrying without effort, we acknowledge change. We were wrong. By ancient authority and present will, she declared, humanity is recognized as a prime survivor species. You changed history, she said. Evan shook his head. I tripped. I trusted instinct over tradition. I think, he said at last, that humanity learns best when we bring lessons home. As it slipped into faster than light, Evan leaned back in his seat, staring at nothing. His body still hurt. His mind felt even heavier. He had not planned any of this. He had simply refused to leave. Back on the station, the Queen watched the ship vanish from sensors. Around her, her empire began the slow work of rebuilding trust, systems, and belief. Not around perfection, but around resilience. Elsewhere in the galaxy, other species paid attention. They reevaluated humans, not as conquerors, not as threats, but as something far more unsettling. People who would stand in the wrong place at the wrong time under impossible pressure and still choose to do the right thing. All because one human slipped. And instead of apologizing his way out of history, he stayed and became part of it.